Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Facebook Live with me. I'm Alisa Vitti. I'm the founder of flowliving.com and I am the author of Woman Code, and I am the creator of the just recently launched My Flow app, which is the first and only functional medicine period tracking app that also fixes your period while you use it, because what's the point of tracking if you can't have a better period next month? So I am really excited today because today we get to kind of talk a little bit more of a deeper dive into this new journey that I'm on as a mom, and sort of how, the living in the flow helped me to do that, and how it's helped so many other women have the same opportunity to become moms. And and sort of just my thoughts on, breastfeeding and getting back in the flow postpartum, and, getting your period back after your baby, and sort of how you want to sort of take care of yourself as a mom to keep yourself hormonally protected, because it's a really special time hormonally. There's so much going on, and I really want to sort of make sure that you have some of the perspective on how to use food to really support yourself. And I'll be taking questions, and I hope we're going to have a lot of moms sharing their tips and strategies too, because, that's a really beautiful thing for me, at least, about becoming a mom is, I always felt part of the sisterhood, so to speak, with women who were having, period stuff. But being a mom has really sort of, I feel so much more connected to other moms, and it's kind of a nice, I find that everyone is so generous. Other moms are so generous to share their thoughts and share their experiences and their strategies, and I just love being part of that sisterhood. So I'm going to share mine. I want you to share yours, and we're going to help each other out today live our best lives as moms, so that we can be, healthy for ourselves, but also healthy for our kids. And of course, today is a perfect day for me to be talking about this, because what a doozy of a week it has been as a mom. So I'm in my luteal phase, which means, I want to be getting a lot of things done this week. And I've had some really interesting speaking engagements and lots of interesting things happening at Flow Living. And my husband's been traveling all week, and so it's kind of started right away. Monday night, my daughter, had been really warm this weekend in Manhattan, so of course we were out at the playground all weekend, and there were like, when I say thousands of kids, I'm not exaggerating. There's thousands of kids at the playground that we take her to. It's a big city, and of course she picked up a stomach bug. It's just rites of spring passage, I guess. So Monday night, I tucked her into bed. I was feeling so proud of myself because I actually got her in the crib. Normally, we sleep in the bed together. But she was so tired that she just actually didn't notice. So I was like, mom points. And then about an hour and a half later, I heard some strange noises, and I ran into the bedroom, and she was like, throwing up all over the place. So that was the beginning of the week. And there's just been, so I think I was up with her from like midnight to 4 in the morning. She threw up a few more times, this and that. And she's, it was kind of like a 24-hour thing, although now it seems to have morphed into some bowel stuff. So we'll see how she does. But, nonetheless, it's Thursday. She's still a little off kilter. And have I been sleeping well this week? No. Is that different from any other week? Somewhat. Sometimes it's a little bit better, but I'm still nursing her, and that means I'm still night nursing her. So I think this is an important point to start in, because, whether your kid is sick or something is up, or you're still nursing and you're kind of nuts like me, she's going to be 2.5 in April. I'm still nursing her on demand. Anybody still nursing? Let me know. And, I think it's whatever it is, whatever your version of that is, that's interrupting your ideal self-care routine. I think that's really the biggest challenge of motherhood is how do you, obviously, sometimes having to drop everything and prioritize what your child needs, but also still be able to give yourself the kind of self-care that you need. What I love about, having done cycle syncing for now going on 18 years is that I have a deep practice around listening to what my body is trying to tell me and responding with some sort of food therapy the next day, right? So if it's, immune stuff that's coming up, I'm feeling like, okay, everybody's getting sick. What do I need to do? I'll make a smoothie the next day with extra camu powder and mangosteen and spirulina. I'll throw a bunch of things in my smoothie if that's appropriate, or I'll have some bone broth with extra garlic and ginger in it, depending on where I'm in the cycle. So I'm always just immediately thinking, how can I help? How can I help my body, right? And what's nice about this is that, it's these, I find that with motherhood, it's a little harder to say, okay, this week I'm going to be perfect and do, 6 days a week of exercise. That sometimes, things just happen. I'm sure many of you as moms feel like there's a lot of things that interrupt your ideal scheduling. Anybody agreeing with me there? Just throw some thumbs up if that's feeling right for you. And instead of letting yourself kind of bottom out all the way, what I think is really valuable is to do this little mini triage, little mini support. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Today I'm going to take a lot of B vitamins, a lot of magnesium. I'm not going to have any caffeine. Not that I have caffeine anyway, but, I'm really going to nourish my adrenals today because last night, she was up throwing up and I was up with her and I didn't get a lot of sleep. And I may take a nap with her during nap time because I'm probably going to be tired, right? What can I do right now in real time that makes a lot of sense? Because if you're not doing that, what ends up happening is you kind of get yourself, you never kind of get out of the hole. And it very quickly downward spirals into chronic fatigue, more symptoms around PMS, mood destabilization. I mean, listen, there is nothing like not sleeping on a consistent basis or, having a lot of children, with lots of varying things happen to pull you out of your normal circadian rhythm to make you feel cranky. If it's going to make your kids cranky not to get enough sleep, why do we have different expectations of ourselves? But the other thing that I love about being a mom and what you are just by nature reflexively doing, like in the example of my kid throwing up, at midnight and me being up with her at 4 a.m, it was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. She's throwing up. I'm going to help her. I'm going to be awake. I'm going to be all about that. And that immediate response and it's just like all that you want to do is take care of the need that's in front of you. That, so if you haven't had 18 years of doing cycle syncing and responding to your hormonal calls to action, so to speak, you already have the skill, if you're a mom, to do it, because anytime you compassionately respond to your child's needs on a physical, which, all of them are mainly physical, especially when they're so little, but emotional too, you're already practiced, you already are watching yourself use the skill that you're going to need to turn that right back on yourself, right? So take care of the kid, and then, okay, what can I take tomorrow morning or even tonight? I popped some magnesium right after she finally settled down, and then it was B vitamins the next day and vitamin C and, any other adaptogens. I was drinking holy basil tea all afternoon. Anything that I can do to give myself a little extra support, that's the kind of relationship I have with my body now that I'm a mom. And of course, in the background, as soon as, I would say, my period came back after the pregnancy, I would say it was somewhere between 6 and 9 months, and I can't remember now. But as soon as it came back, I got back to my cycle syncing ways. And prior to that, I was eating in a very specific way, which was to recover from the fourth trimester kind of diet plan, which I'm happy to talk about another time. If people are curious, just let me know if you would have any interest in me sort of sharing my immediate postpartum diet. And that's critical too, because how we nurture ourselves immediately, those 3 months immediately after we give birth, is so critical to set you up for hormonal balance ongoing. It's such a huge thing. Okay, I'm thinking that all of these hearts are probably for the postpartum thing. Yes, please. Okay, cool. All right. I will promise to come back and do that. If we have time today, I'll do it. Well, maybe I'll reconfigure some things in my notes here. But, at a high level, the thing about, hold on, I'm just going to quickly peek at my notes. And I can't multitask here today. Okay. So the thing about, at a high level, the postpartum diet is, in Chinese medicine, the pregnancy phase is referred to as a very yang phase, or we think of it as like increasing heat in the body. And some of you, I remember the couple of the last weeks during the last trimester, the third trimester, I would have to be like sleeping with nothing on, with the air conditioning blowing on me. It was just like, I was just radiating heat, so truly. So really, really interesting to kind of see what that means when you actually experience it. And then when you give birth, you move very rapidly into a very extreme yin experience in the body, so much cooler, increasing coolness in the body. And so when we think about what's needed, you need to be warming up the body, increasing circulation, supporting the metabolism, supporting the blood, the kidney function. And so there are specific foods that you want to eat to do that. And by the way, a lot of those are similar to the foods you're eating during the menstrual phase when you're cycle syncing. So foods that are rich in animal proteins and fats, warming spices, all of that during the fourth trimester is really appropriate. And I'm happy to talk more about it. But what if you're saying to yourself, but Alisa, I didn't do that, and I'm 6 months out, I'm a year out, I'm 2 years out, what should I do? That's a great question. And you kind of want to look at your symptoms and see how you're doing. Audit your cycle is always the first place to start. If your period is, you've got brown staining, or it's sort of delayed, you're not getting it, with a regularity every 28 to 32 days, or you feel like you're skipping ovulation or something's going on, that can point very specifically to where you're having some deficiency, and that's precisely where you want to take action. But I go back to kind of what I've been talking about, which is don't make it overwhelming for yourself, because Lord knows you are a superwoman as it is, just by virtue of being a mom of one, of two, of more, and working and doing all the things that you're doing in the home. You have 3, 4 jobs really, career, kids, your domestic world, and your self-care. That's a lot of stuff to do. Each of those 4, jobs has many projects underneath them, and it's a lot. So when you think about self-care, sometimes that always feels like the last thing you want to do, because you just want to do nothing after you get through the first 3 jobs. And I can totally appreciate that now more than ever. But a little bit of that little triage goes such a long way. And for those of you who are just joining in, I'm still getting the hang of all this Facebook Live stuff. So I'm Alisa Vitti. I'm the founder of flowliving.com, the author of Woman Code, the creator of the My Flow Functional Medicine Period Tracking app. If you haven't downloaded this app, I want you to. One of the other reasons why I created this app was to also have life be easier for moms, because, I totally get how it can be overwhelming to think about what is it that I should be doing during my self-care time. If I have like a half an hour, which feels like a lot, what am I going to do? Or what foods am I supposed to eat this week? Or, okay, I need to exercise. What should I do? That planning for yourself when you're tired, when you're sleep deprived, when you're micronutrient deficient, when you're hormonally imbalanced, that can feel overwhelming. And the app, myflowtracker.com, will take care of that for you. You don't have to think about it. You just need to plug in your coordinates, and it will tell you where you are in the cycle, what you should be eating, what you should be focusing on with exercise and everything else, so that you can really use your time efficiently and do your self-care in a sustainable way. You know, I've been out doing a lot of speaking over the past couple of weeks, and every time sort of like we're sort of in a group of women and I'm asking sort of what it is that women are looking for, I keep hearing kind of the same thing everywhere I'm going, whether it's moms or young women at the beginning of their careers or anything in between, which is we're all so passionate, we're all so driven to pursue our passions. We're also creative. We all have things that are really important to us. And we want to do it all, so to speak. But we want to not feel like we're burning ourselves out or burning our candles at both ends or running ourselves ragged or running ourselves into the ground or beating a dead horse, or I don't know how many other expressions we have. But, you know, fundamentally, we want to pursue life, you know, vigorously, but we also want to feel like we're doing it in a sustainable way. And I think that this appetite for sustainability is so needed and so makes so much sense, because we're moving at faster speeds than ever before with all of this technology, and there's certainly a lot going on that feels stressful all around us. And there's so much to keep up with in ways that just no other people have had to keep up with if we look sort of back historically. And for me, I'm really grateful that I have the cycle syncing methodology to provide a structure for me as a mom, as a woman, to live in a really sustainable way, not just with my self-care, not just to keep my periods healthy and my hormones balanced, but also to be a great mom. I mean, this is a great example. So I think motherhood comes with its own interesting set of expectations, depending on, you know, what schools of thought you subscribe to and what books you're reading and all of that. But, you know, certainly I think we all aspire to be bringing our best energy to our children and you know, not bringing them our tired, cranky, you know, responses, right? And I'm going to get to some great questions that you guys are chiming in on. For those of you who are just joining, I'm Alisa Vitti, founder of Flow Living and author of Woman Code and the creator of the My Flow app. So when you're cycle syncing as a mom, it's a great way for you to honor the different aspects of yourself. So for example, my daughter is 2, almost 2.5, and like, I swear, just 2 weeks before the past 2 weeks, prior to that, she was real easygoing. And then 2 weeks ago, she went through a little growth spurt, cognitively, physically, and now it's like, everything is like, you can't get her to get dressed. It takes an hour to get outside. I don't want to sit in the chair. I don't want to do, it's like, everything is like a struggle. You know, it's part of the deal. It's part of her establishing herself as the lead in her life, which is beautiful to see, but sometimes really frustrating. So I really lean into my cyclical neurohormonal conversation to be the best version of the mom that I can be that week. So if I'm in my ovulatory week and my kid is like, I don't want to get dressed, I don't want to go outside, I'm like, you know, one of the things she loves to do is after we finally get clothes off to get into the bathtub, she doesn't want to get into the bathtub. She wants to do what she calls the naked dance, and she likes to run in this little spot in the hallway and just like wiggle and dance, and she's like listening to music in her head. Like, it's adorable. And so if it's ovulatory week, I'm going to join in. I'm going to be like, let's do the dance. Let's dance it out, you know, dance break. And then eventually I shimmy her into the bathroom and ploop, we're in the tub and it's great. And we're still singing. We're having a good time. During my luteal phase, I'm a little bit more like, I would like to keep the schedule. So I bring a different kind of motherhood energy to that week. And I'm like, okay, so, and it's educational for her. So one week it might be dance breaks. The next week it might be, okay, darling, what is it that you need to do before we get in the tub? right? And she'll say, well, I want to do a dance party. And I'll say, okay, great. Let's put on one song and you'll dance to that one song and then you'll get in the tub. And she'll say, great. And so we have this different kind of conversation where she feels like she's setting a boundary and having that respected, and I feel the same. So I'm modeling for her the kind of healthy, dynamics that I hope that she'll take with her in her life. And I'm leveraging the different aspects of myself as a woman every week of my cycle to keep me a happy, healthy, emotionally healthy mom, as opposed to putting the expectation on myself that anytime she wants to do a dance party that I'm going to be 100% into that and I'm going to want to do a dance party with her. It's not realistic, and putting that expectation on yourself as a mom to always be like the dance party mom it's not good for you. It's going to make you have that sort of inner critical voice pop up more often than we need. And of course, I don't think it serves your children to only be like the party mom. I think they need to see all sides of the mother. The sacred mother has many, many facets, and all of them are beautiful to share. So that's just another way that, learning more about your cyclical nature can benefit you as a mom, just to make it more pleasurable and sustainable, but also the self-care piece. So I'm going to take a few questions to make sure that I have caught all the things on my my notes. Okay. So I want to make sure I talk about two other things. Breastfeeding, losing the baby weight, and I guess, we talked about the first thing. So breastfeeding and losing the baby weight. Let's just quickly touch on breastfeeding. For those of you who are still breastfeeding, I see a question here from Gail. Hi, Gail. I'm breastfeeding my 2-month-old and your period has not yet returned. How do I tell if and when I'm ovulating? Okay, great. So, if you're breastfeeding and you're 2 months in, I would not worry at all about your period returning. Typically, when you're breastfeeding, it takes quite a bit more time, anywhere from 6 to 9 months, for your period to come back. So I wouldn't worry about, getting your period back. However, about the ovulation piece, it's very likely that ovulation starts sooner. So the best way to tell if you're ovulating, of course, is to use, a temperature check to see if your temperature, basal body temperature is rising during when you suspect you might ovulate. Another thing to do is go and get an ovulation testing, urine testing kit, which you can use. It's a little more expensive. Another thing to do is to look for signs of cervical fluid, because it'll be very distinct. When you're breastfeeding, you tend to be more dry vaginally because of the sort of suppression of estrogen that's happening during this time. So, you can look for any subtle increase in cervical fluid that looks like that egg white, clear egg white, uncooked egg white consistency that you were looking for when you were trying to conceive. You look for that same fluid. But if you're concerned about preventing another pregnancy, that's very, very important. And to make sure that you are using protection if you are, sexually active at this stage. Condoms are a really important thing to be doing at this time, because I think having a conception so close to, just having given birth is not recommended. And it's also, just from a micronutrient standpoint, you have to rebuild what just went into baby number one, and you're also breastfeeding, which is also having major micronutrients exit the body through the breast milk. So, I think knowing that you're ovulating is important from a family planning standpoint, but I would say the focus for you, if you're 2 months in, should be on really deeply nourishing yourself. I mean, this breastfeeding and the weight loss conversation actually tie in hand in hand. I lost 60 pounds really, really quickly postpartum, the 60 pounds I gained during my pregnancy, by eating and not exercising. I had some interesting stuff going on, which I'm happy to share. But there, it was deep winter. It was hard for me to kind of get up and do a lot of movement for various reasons. And so one of the things that was just remarkable to see yet again was that if you eat for your endocrine system and its metabolism really do the majority of the work. And exercise sports science has come out many, many times recently to say that 90% of your weight loss is based on your diet, not the exercise. And so what I would recommend is really looking at how can I, what is your breastfeeding goal? Is it to breastfeed for a year, 6 months, or in my case, more extended breastfeeding? You have to kind of think of yourself as an athlete, an Olympic athlete of motherhood and breastfeeding, and you need to sort of power eat. So foods that are rich in micronutrients. I think that these first 3 months, if you're not having liver pate or some sort of organ meat, that's a missed opportunity for your, micronutrient restoration. Lots of good quality fats, lots of good quality animal proteins, bone broth, nothing raw. I mean, I don't think I remember, I was just curious, because I'm always doing little experiments, and I was like, okay, it's been 2 months. Let me see if I can even just bite into an apple. I mean, it was like, I reviled I tried it, and I was like, I can't do that. I could not eat anything raw, even fruits, no raw vegetables, no salad for 3 to 4 months. And then slowly after that, I started introducing some things in, but it was, cooked foods, heavy foods. And that was when the majority of the weight really melted off. So, and I believe because of what I was doing in that 4th trimester, especially because I have a history of PCOS, and for those of you who are just joining, hi, I'm Alisa, founder of Flow Living, author of Woman Code, creator of the MyFlow app. And we're here today talking about how to be a healthy mom, how to have a good hormonal recovery postpartum, and, some of my strategies for managing all of that. And, I really think that what I did, because I'm a former sufferer of PCOS, we know that women who have PCOS have a harder time establishing milk supply. And so, I was really interested in breastfeeding. And so during the pregnancy and definitely postpartum, I really worked with food to make sure that I had enough to give. And I am really amazed, as always, by what the body can do when you feed it properly. And like I said, I'm 2.5 years in almost to breastfeeding on demand, and the supply is good, and I'm really grateful that my body's been able to do that. But it's also because I power eat for this. So I want you to think about yourself as not the last item on your to-do list when it comes to, food, right? And you want to be eating really good quality food. And mind you, my daughter also eats very similar to me. I mean, bone broth, sauerkraut, animal protein, veggies, cooked veggies. I mean, she's from the beginning. It was funny. I wasn't sure what she was going to like to eat. So I introduced her to egg yolks and avocados. Those were kind of her first foods. And then I wanted to see if she would do the purees and stuff. And oh my God, I mean, I made my own, I bought them, she was like, get this out of my mouth. She did not like that. So, it's really interesting to see someone with my genetic material and already see her proclivity for, not really being into sweet things. She's more into more substantive foods, and that's what she needs and that's what she craves. And so it's great to know that I don't need to force her to do fruit purees if that's not what she wants to do. So, and I only know that because, I've been in this relationship with my own body for such a long time that I feel really confident that I am able to look at her and watch her reactions to things and how she responds to food and help her learn how to do that call and response. And that's another fun thing that I think is really important as a mom is how do we model this for our kids, and I think our self-care is really the key. So I have another question from Rivka. Rivka has 3 children. Give me some notes, Mama, on how you are managing all of that. That's amazing. And you always get your period 6 weeks postpartum, even when you're breastfeeding. Estrogen dominant. Yeah, that definitely has a lot to do with it. So that's why a lot of people, a lot of women will have a sort of delayed return of their cycle, because if you're breastfeeding, you're sort of having a natural suppression of estrogen. But if you're estrogen dominant, then yes, your period might come back sooner. So I would say estrogen dominance is something, if you're now done breastfeeding or close to it, is something you would want to work on, right, to protect yourself and your health long term. And again, this is where the cycle syncing diet is really beneficial, because you're going to be meeting the estrogen at its peaks at every phase of the cycle, and giving it sort of phase appropriate food to help your body metabolize that estrogen as quickly as possible. So, that's something that you want to start working on, and then maybe considering some supplementation to help your liver break that estrogen down more quickly. I want to take a few more questions. Let me scroll up. And if you have some questions about weight loss postpartum, or breastfeeding, or self-care, anything around the cycle and motherhood, I want to sort of, let me see what we've got here. Oops, I'm scrolling. Here we go. Maria Teresa has a question about, what's your recommendation if I've stopped ovulating, though I still get my period? That's an interesting question, Maria. So, and then Puneet has a similar question. How do you know if you've stopped ovulating? So for Maria and Puneet, I would first look at sort of where you're at in terms of your age. So, if you're a mom over 35, and you've not done enough with diet to slow down the hormonal aging process, you could be starting some of the transition to perimenopause a little on the earlier side. And what is that? Perimenopause is simply the 10 to 15 year period of time that it takes for the body, for the pituitary gland specifically, to make more and more and more follicular stimulating hormone to reach a critical concentration, a high concentration that then shuts off ovulation. So that sometimes can get expedited if we don't have enough micronutrients to support our cycle, if we're, under a lot of stress. That's one way that ovulation gets shut off, okay? Just sort of expedited perimenopause. Another way that you could be getting your period but not ovulating is if sleep is off and cortisol patterns are off, as well as mismanaged blood sugar throughout the day. So let's say you're not doing a good job feeding yourself, right? So you wake up, you have a cup of coffee, or you don't eat, you skip breakfast, and then you have like some, something not great, as a mid-morning, like a bagel, or even like a juice or something that's just going to spike up your blood sugar levels. And then the rest of the day, you're just always kind of getting to the point where you're past the point of hunger too far. Your blood sugar's dropped, and then you carbo load and your blood sugar's up. If you're on that roller coaster, just that alone, studies show, can disrupt ovulation. And this is one of the ways, I've helped so many women become moms through the Flow protocol and the Fertile Flow program, really helping them get their ovulation restored. So if you're asking the question because you're thinking about having another child and you're already a mom, this is why downloading the MyFlow app and really getting in the habit of cycle syncing your diet and your self-care, and making sure that you're taking care of, the basic fundamentals that allow you to have a healthy cycle, really is important, non-negotiable work that you need to focus on so that you can have that second pregnancy in a nice, natural, easy way, in a healthy way for you, a healthy way for the baby. So I'm scrolling through. More questions are coming in. I love that. What do I think about brewer's yeast for lactation support? I think it's great. I think, you just need to kind of watch your gut if you're having any reactions to it. I personally don't consume brewer's yeast, but I think that it's perfectly fine to do if it's something that you feel good about. I, for initial lactation support, did a lot of cooked fennel which I found really helpful. Eating things like dates and oats really helped. And then in the very beginning, the first 3 months, I remember taking, it was a supplement by Mother Love called More Milk Plus. And I found that to be like magical. If I would like take it, the engorgement, the breast tissue was extraordinary, and there was like so much more milk. But you have to be careful with that because there is one herb, which is escaping me now. Forgive me, I am a little sleep deprived from the week I've had. That is a little bit of a problem for the thyroid long term, which is also more vulnerable postpartum. So they make one version of the same formulation without that herb. And you can use that too, and I'm sure it's just as effective. So that's really good. Brandy's asking me a question. What is a good supplement? I mentioned a supplement to support your liver to metabolize estrogen. What would that be? There are many, actually. You could use milk thistle. You could use caldiglucarate. You could use just even your B vitamins and vitamin C. All of those things are needed in the liver to break down estrogen. I also really recommend that you take a good fiber supplement like flax in your daily diet along with a lot of veggies, because you can break all the estrogen down you want, but if you're not having regular, good, solid bowel movements every day, that's just not really going to get out of your system. Okay, a question about thyroid tests. What thyroid test do I recommend? I think a good general thyroid test is good if you're suspicious that something is up, to just see your TSH levels, your T4 levels, and your T3 levels. That should be a good starting point for anyone who's interested in that. Sandra's asking, you have a problem where your period won't stop. Will it stop on its own? It's been 1 month. Oy, that's never any fun. I'm not sure what's happening if you've just had a baby or this is just out of the blue. So, in this situation, I would say you do need to go see your GYN and assess why this might be happening to you. Without knowing the backstory, it's hard for me to give you any guidance that's going to be relevant to that situation. Okay, so Sarah's talking about you had your last child 10 years ago, and you can't lose 20 pounds, even eating really wholesome, good fat, protein, veggies, but it doesn't budge, and you would love to find the root of the problem. So yeah, Sarah, I'm assuming you're in your perimenopausal years. I am too. I'm going to be 40 in May. I'm really excited. So all that being said, that sometimes during perimenopause, the changes here with estrogen and testosterone can make it more difficult to lose weight. So what's important to do is incorporate strength training during the phases of the cycle, where I talk about that being a really relevant thing to do. And actually some new research came out to say that, which supports the cyclical exercise plan we talk about all the time at Flow, that basically you want to be doing strength training in the first half of the cycle, and then when we switch over to the sort of the week and a half of like the PMS 5 days or so into the luteal into the menstrual phase, that we don't want to be doing strength training. But we want to do strength training as much as we can in this perimenopausal years for two reasons. One, because it boosts testosterone levels, and lean muscle mass helps boost the metabolism overall, and also because it's going to protect bone density. And then more with a little bit of estrogen metabolism. So here I might recommend something like a milk thistle for you to help you break that estrogen down and start to see some benefits, but also be really good even when you're thinking you're eating healthy. One of the things we do, for example, in the Flow protocol, is we spend the first 3 weeks of the protocol making sure that your blood sugar is stabilized through your meals, because if we don't get that right, nothing else in the endocrine system will function the way that it's meant to. It's the most important thing the endocrine system wants to do for you during the day, is protect the transport of glucose to the brain and the heart and the muscle tissue. So if you're having coffee and then the rest of the day you're eating, really clean, that's gonna slow down your weight loss. for example, because you're going to jack up your cortisol and your insulin, and then the rest of the day is not going to count, unfortunately. So really try to investigate, are you keeping your blood sugar as stable as possible? And I've had clients in the past who have not been pregnant. I mean, I did this during the phase of my pregnancy where I was checking my blood sugar for about 2 weeks. I was doing, when I would wake up, I would do it after breakfast, after lunch, and after dinner, just to see kind of how I was doing for 2 weeks. I believe it was around 25 weeks I did this. And so I got a little glucometer, at the drugstore, and the little testing strips. And I was surprised to see how expensive it was to get the testing strips. Mind you, a box of those were not cheap. But I was really glad to do it. And it can be something that you can do for a couple of weeks while you're trying to see, how good are the combinations of macronutrients that you're putting together on your plate. Like, are you having too much brown rice, even though it's healthy? Is it spiking up your blood sugar? And if it is, that's the cause of why you're not losing the weight. So getting a little bit deeper dive instead of just the fact that you've made the clean eating switch is huge, but how can we, really refine it a little bit further? Let's see. Okay. When I'm gonna screw up your name. I'm sorry. Naomi. I'm trying. Hi. You are 35, 8 months into breastfeeding. Good for you. Craving sugar, so tired, no sex drive. Where do I begin, and what should I absolutely avoid in life right away? Okay. I think I got the questions. The sun is streaming through my windows. Okay, so when I hear that you're 8 months in, you're craving sugar, you're so tired, and you're basically miserable, then I would just say there's major dietary, emergency treatment that's needed, right? So I would, for example, right now, as soon as you're done listening to me, go get an avocado. If you don't have an avocado, go get some sunflower seed butter. If you don't have that, go get a tablespoon of coconut oil and put that fat in your mouth right away. Then I would look at what you can have at your very next meal, and I might recommend that you have a steak tonight for dinner with some potatoes, with some cooked veggies. Have a really substantial meal with a lot of protein and fats and some good carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates like sweet root vegetables, a sweet potato, something like that, quinoa, and eat more than you think you need tonight because you're micronutrient depleted pretty tremendously. Then I would look at, I'm assuming you're not doing any caffeine because you're breastfeeding, but if you are, immediately stop the caffeine because that's going to make this all much worse. And then, the next morning, again, I would just put you on a power eating, kind of game plan for a while, at least a month, to see if this, maybe longer. So breakfast, I mean, I still have pretty much 2 eggs every day for breakfast plus half an avocado and some whole grains every morning. Because of this breastfeeding thing. And I sometimes modify what I'm doing. Sometimes I don't have the whole grain because I'm in my ovulatory phase, and I'll have a cooked green, or I'll lighten it up depending on where I'm at. But for you, I would just for a month really eat aggressively for the next month. And whenever you're craving sugar, really what your body is craving is a good carbohydrate. So how can you keep some of those on hand and ready to go? Cook a few things on the weekend, just bake a bunch of sweet potatoes and snack on those. Boil a bunch of brown rice or quinoa and snack on that. I would rather have you binge on that, unlimited binging on those types of things, than reaching for anything else right now, because at least that's going to give your body these micronutrients, and it's going to help heal your endocrine system. Giving birth, 3D printing a tiny human being is no small feat from a micronutrient standpoint. And then breastfeeding, making this amazing milk that is full of nutrients and immune factors and sugar, is no small feat. My daughter just went through a growth spurt I mentioned at the top of the hour. And hello, for those of you who are joining, I'm Alisa Vitti, founder of Flow Living, author of Woman Code, creator of the My Flow Tracker. Please download this app. It's going to change your life, period. I was starting to get really punny when I'm more tired. But one of the things that I really, really think is so critical is, this really eating in a substantial way and making sure that you're feeding yourself, and eating. Oh, right. She was going through a growth spurt like 2 weeks ago, and I don't eat dairy, as you know, but during my pregnancy, I had the only craving I ever had during my pregnancy was for a little bit of organic goat yogurt, which I had on occasion a couple times a week. And 2 weeks ago, that specific craving came back, and I literally could not get enough goat cheese, goat yogurt into my system for the past 2 weeks. And she sprouted, she sprouted her back molar. She sprouted, I don't know how much she grew, but her pants are too short now. And because okay, here's a cool thing. Did you know when you're breastfeeding, the saliva of your infant, your baby, actually programs the breast tissue to produce specific things that the baby needs at that time? It passes through the saliva and through the nipple and programs your breast to make exactly the right milk. They've just released a study that actually your breast milk is pre-programmed based on the sex of the baby. I mean, it's really remarkably intelligent, the breast and the breast tissue and the whole process of breastfeeding. It's a call and response. So again, I'm not having that craving now, so I've let go of the goat cheese, but I definitely needed it for those 2 weeks, and you want to be thinking about the fact that your baby is probably, getting as much of your best nutrients that whatever it is that you're eating. So you want to eat twice as much, some for the kid and some for you. Otherwise, you're just going to start to be sucked dry. And what's going to happen is you're going to feel like you don't want to breastfeed anymore, or you're going to get hormonally unwell. Your thyroid might blow out, your adrenals might blow out, your sex drive is already gone, you're so tired, you're already in adrenal fatigue. You don't want to kind of push yourself too much further. So instead of waiting for the bottom to fall out, just recognize that you do need to really nourish yourself more. And I know it could seem a little overwhelming because you're thinking, well, I'm too tired to cook. Find a way, there's organic meal delivery services now that you can temporarily, just till you get your energy back up for 2 weeks, or get somebody to help you, a family member, your partner, someone to just cook you a few things for the next 2 weeks again until you can kind of get your system back on, and take your prenatal, get back on your prenatal. That will help you so much. You're so welcome. I'm so happy to answer questions. Okay, let's see. Looking at questions here. Is it possible to have PCOS if cystic acne is the only symptom you have? Your periods are regular and you're ovulating and your weight is stable. No, it's likely that you don't have PCOS. If you're ovulating and menstruating, and you can just have cystic acne because you're having estrogen dominance and you're having some congestion in the liver, and it can be because you've had some exposure to antibiotics that are causing a disruption in your estrobolome in the gut microbiome, and that's causing you to have some issues with, I'm going to just move this camera because the glare is pretty intense. Let's see. There we go. It's a little bit better. So, you could be having some of that microbiome issue that's causing the skin to react that way. And you could also be exposed to some chemicals in your diet. Cystic acne does not equal PCOS. It just could be cystic acne on its own. Okay, let's see what we've got. Sarah's asking, if I need personal guidance to follow your deeper protocol, where can I find that course besides the book and the app? Great question. Then you want to go to the website flowliving.com, and you can click on the monthly flow program and purchase it straight from the website. And that's me, like this, videos teaching you each step of the protocol, giving you food assignments, giving you everything to do for the, each week. It's very thorough, and it's the protocol that and the program that thousands of women have been using in 216 countries to get their cycle back and all sorts of things. So I highly recommend it. It's what I use to keep myself healthy too. Okay, Simone is asking a question. I feel like this. I'm just glowing in the sunlight here. We'll just do the best we can. I'm 26 and trying to get pregnant for 2 years. Husband and I are healthy. Went to the doctor to check that up. My second cycle phase is too short. So you have a luteal phase defect, 8 to 10 days. So, okay, so that is indicative of not enough progesterone. And I would also ask you, Simone, to go and audit your period with the V-Sign quiz on the homepage of flowliving.com. You can just answer 7 questions. V-Sign, again, it's flowliving.com/what's my V-Sign type. And this way you'll be able to see, if in fact the color of your period is showing you that you have low progesterone, and if that's the case, that's absolutely why you're not able to sustain a pregnancy or conceive. And so you want to be changing your diet to improve your progesterone levels. So eating things like egg yolks, for example, is one of my favorite foods to recommend, but there are a lot of different things that you can do to boost your progesterone levels that are part of the monthly flow process and the flow protocol. I'm so glad, Wynomi, that you liked the webinar. Yes, once a month, I also do a live webinar. And I may, just because I've been having so much fun with the Facebook Live, switch those over to video if you think that you would be into that. I think I'm going to be into that too. So that's always a different topic. It's more of like a master class with me as opposed to this sort of more casual chit-chat that we're having. Maria, you're telling me that your 2-year-old daughter loves the golden milk recipe. That's so great that you're giving her that. Oh my God, what a good mom you are. Good for you. No, I put the turmeric. My daughter's so picky. She won't drink anything. I can't get her to drink like a smoothie or golden milk, but I do put turmeric on her eggs. So I think it's so good. Let's talk about that for a second, because it's so fun to geek out about these things. So, in Ayurvedic medicine, they look at the different phases of life as having particular constitutional types. And in childhood, which they would sort of consider, I think, birth to about 16, they would consider this more of the kapha time, where everything is like damp and everything's inward and da-da-da. Turmeric is a warming, drying spice. It's a great counterbalance to the dampness of childhood, right? If you think of kids, they're like runny noses and snots and, skin stuff and bowel stuff, and that's all indicative of a kapha imbalance. Turmeric is great. Any warming, drying spices, even if it's cayenne, if they could do that, or cinnamon, which my daughter does love. So she will drink cinnamon chamomile rooibos tea that I make for her, which she likes. But so anything like that you can bake into their diets is really good, especially during the seasonal transitions, like right now with this spring transition and the fall to winter transition. That's a really good time to do it. So good for you. Good for you. Where am I with time? Let's see. Oh my God, it's already 3 o'clock. How do we do an hour every time with this thing? I'm honored that you all spend a whole hour with me on Facebook Live, because I know you're busy moms, and I really hope that today's chat was super helpful. I love all your questions, and I love your comments. This is the first time I've gotten to really talk about motherhood and hormonal care during this time since I've been a mom, and I'm really we'll be doing it kind of once a month, like something just special for the moms. And maybe next time I'll tackle something, I don't know, more focused on the sex drive or something. We'll think about it together. You let me know what it is that you want me to talk about. My little special moms group here on the Facebook Live. And I'm glad it's fun. Thanks, Maria. It's fun for me too. I enjoy, me, I can just keep chatting all day about your hormones. So If you, thank you. I love the hearts. That's so fun when you're talking. So for those of you who haven't downloaded the app yet and you are moms, please download myflowtracker.com. It's at the bottom. It's just going to take the thinking out of it for you, because I know for me, I just have so much on my mind of things to do for my kid, for my business, for my whatever, my life, and it's so nice to just be able to say, have the app and say, okay, I'm in this phase, here's what I'm supposed to eat, here's what I'm supposed to do, and I really love that it takes that pressure off. And don't forget the scheduling feature. You pick the activities or the exercise that's being recommended to you, and with 2 taps, you schedule that into your main mom calendar, that's running everybody's life. It's going to also make it really easy for you to make sure that self-care appointments get scheduled in to your master calendar, your master family calendar as well, because that's really, really critical for the health and well-being of your family. If mom is happy, I mean, gosh, I always heard that expression and thought that really makes sense, but I now viscerally understand. If mama's well-being is good, then the family is thriving. So don't ever forget that you are the center of the family's universe. It's you, and your sun needs to be shining brightly, your star, your energy, and that's something that you want to feed and nourish, and make sure that you're stoking that glowing fire so that everyone can come and cuddle up next to mama and feel good and nurtured too. All right, well, it's at the end of the hour. I've loved spending this time with you. I think next time I'm going to make some tea and make it even more cozy. We'll talk again next week, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Bring your questions. It'll be something related to just normal hormonal stuff. We'll save the motherhood thing for maybe once a month. And I'm looking forward to seeing you then, all right? Share this with your friends, and also let me know what you want me to talk about. Send me questions, send me ideas. I'm here for you. So activate me and my nerdy brain with all of your questions. And thank you so much for your love. I love you guys so much. This is my favorite thing to do, and I'm so grateful that I get to do it with you. So I'll talk to you soon.